Hi everybody, this is May 23rd, 2025, and this is part of my video journal of my recovery from the trauma of watching my little brother, Paul Kierans, 64, with Down syndrome, be locked up by my government, the BC New Democratic Party government, with David Eby as leader, for 588 days. And then I believe that he was killed. He had some kind of brain incident and was recovering, and they took away his ventilator, and I believe they sedated him to death. So I've posted all of my sorrow and down days with you guys, but today is a day of celebration. I just dropped off 24 Tim Hortons fresh out of the oven Tim Hortons donuts at the British Columbia Supreme Court Library on the third floor. To celebrate, I filed my last document in my appeal. I haven't counted all the pages, but I had to file 3 paper copies of my appeal, which is about 700 pages. And I picked up the first set this morning from Staples in Coquitlam, and they said, and then when I got to the Court of Appeal office, they said I was missing the appeal record, which is the record of all the court orders made in the case. And I hadn't read the email properly. I mean, I'm so discombobulated. So I had to rush out to Staples and convince them to print off the 800 pages they had to print and bind so that I could file them, and I filed them. And as soon as they were filed and accepted by the staff at the British Columbia Court of Appeal Registry, I ran over to Tim Hortons and I bought 24 fresh donuts and brought them over to the library staff, because they have helped me invaluably, like all the things that they've done to help me get to this point. I just, I don't know whether I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. I have a feeling I'm going to win. I don't believe the Court of Appeal would have invited me to appeal this vexatious litigant designation if they didn't think it was preposterous and worthy of their intervention. The judge that declared me or designated me a vexatious litigant, taking away all of my civil rights as a human being, so I can be attacked by anyone and I can't respond, even though I was the first single mother to graduate from law school in British Columbia. And I practiced law for 23 years. And the judge that declared me a vexatious litigant went ahead, even though I'd been restricted to 2-hour court appearances per day by my family doctor and cardiologist. It's been the worst miscarriage of justice in Canadian history. My brother's being locked up by David Eby for 588 days alone with no visitors from Greater Vancouver, after, living a family lifestyle his whole life. I think it killed him. And then after Paul was killed, then they went after me and to have me declared a vexatious litigant, take away all of my, the simple rights that a human being has to respond to claims against them, where it's taken away from me. And that was to discredit me, because the police are investigating the evil nun and L'Arche for this fraudulent, what I allege to be a fraudulent and forged power of attorney. So the chronology was, I complained to the Burnaby RCMP that I believed that the document that L'Arche was relying on was fraudulent and forgery, because Paul was too low functioning to appoint a representative, and it was not his signature. I know, because I taught him to print the only word that he could read or print, his first name, Paul, And the signature on the document didn't look anything like any of the hundreds of samples of his signature that I have. They wanted to make him look more high-functioning than he is, because he was never capable of he never had the mental capacity to appoint, grant a power of attorney or appoint a representative. So after I complained to the Burnaby RCMP, the Burnaby RCMP said that they were going to do an investigation, and they didn't. What they did was they went to L'Arche and tipped off the government and L'Arche that I had complained. And the same day that they tipped them off, L'Arche terminated permanently my visits with Paul and his visits with me. It was torture. It's a form of torture. Human attachment is a fundamental, basic human need. And to sever that human attachment that Paul had with me and I had with him was a form of torture. I mean, Paul Bernardo gets to visit with his family in person. The worst scoundrels in Canadian history have all been able to visit with their family and friends. But Paul was isolated and confined by David Eby. I'm talking to you, David Eby. You illegitimate creep. But anyways, I don't want to get into that. Today is a day for celebration. I don't know if I'm going to win, but I've done everything in my power to set the cogs in motion to set aside. So because Canada has a precedent system of law, that means that you are at risk now because they declared me a vexatious litigant. Then you're at risk to have all your civil rights taken away in your absence. So the library staff were thrilled to get their donuts. I didn't even wait around to see what the donuts were, but I could watch them take them right out of the oven. And the library staff were thrilled. And then I told the sheriffs on my way out, I said that there's donuts up in the library. And I said they can give them to whoever they want, including the library patrons. But I'm just so grateful for all the help and support that that British Columbia Court Library provides services to the people who have nothing but their belief in the legal system. And I've spent many a long, lonely hours there. And I've gotten lots of help from the library staff. I've forgotten my thumb drive there more times than I can think of, and they always find it and give it back to me. So today is a day for celebration. I'm so happy. I know that Paul's smiling down on me from heaven. I just saw a Facebook post about a lady who had posted a picture of her 71-year-old brother with Down syndrome. And I thought, oh God, Paul was 5 days short of his 66th birthday, and he was in perfect health. He wasn't hospitalized for anything until something happened to him at L'Arche. He had a wound on the side of his head that was oozing blood. I don't know what they did to him, but he didn't want to be there. But anyways, the hearing of my appeal is at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, June 2025, 24th. 2025. So the 24th of June at 2 o'clock next month at 800 Smythe Street, or you can watch it virtually by just clicking on the link on the BC Court of Appeal website. So you've got no excuse not to watch my appeal. And I've put hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of work. And today I just spent, this morning on copying, I spent $161. And then this afternoon, I spent another $179. And then the donuts were $28.95. And I had to take a cab. I had to take a cab yesterday and today to pick up the copying. So the costs are adding up. And I'm living on old age security and Canada pension. And every single penny that I have has been going to fight the good fight. So for you, I don't know how long I'm going to live. I got a heart condition, but I don't want to leave the world in a worse state than what I found it. And this vexatious litigant designation, what they did to Paul, followed up by what they did to me. I'm disabled too. I'm legally a disabled person. And my treatment was horrific, and I don't want to leave the world in the worst condition. And then to cap everything off with wonderful news, I just learned that that a riding flipped for the Conservatives in Newfoundland, my dad's home province, by 12 votes. So, Mark Carney, we're coming for you. You're gonna be thrown out. Your minority government is going to be thrown out on its ass. All the hard work that I did for the Conservative Party of Canada is going to pay off. And we're going to throw out this evil David Evil in British Columbia and restore Canada to its former greatness. I love you all, and thank you for following. Take care, everybody.